Well, here we are, episode 66. I can't believe it. A year and 5 months, 4 months.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
making some great project
Yeah, we are. I
progress
just, I
here.
just can't believe it.
Yeah.
You know.
So tonight, folks, we're gonna since the weather's finally breaking in the Northeast here and getting warmer, we're thinking baseball. Hence the shirts and the hats.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk a little bit about spring training, some records that are out there right now, and wins and losses, and we'll talk a little bit about opening day when that's coming, and then we have a special guest. An overall great guy, Angelo Nicolosi from Nicolosi's Pizza. Welcome, Ange.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Very nice. Got to roll that intro.
Okay. I know it's just spring training, but they
Yeah,
are
I know
doing the
it's
baseball classic.
They are. They're getting ready for the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
But hey,
And
look,
the
I
Orioles
mean,
played today. They played the Netherlands, but they lost 8-5.
well, they didn't have Peter Alonso, so at the end of the day, with Pete's going to have to compete with the East now. He's a Yankee
Yeah.
killer
Oh,
on one
yeah.
side, and now he's going to
Now
see
he's-
him a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
So we got an interesting record because Bill and I are like rivals here.
Yeah.
Yankees are 8-2 so far. Baltimore's 5-4.
All right.
Here we go.
All
I know
right.
it's only spring training.
Right.
That's right. No matter what happens, Bill, it's still they're all both at 0-0 right now. A lot can happen between now and
Yeah,
then.
that's
no
right.
That's right.
120 games to go, right?
That's right.
Yep.
So we mentioned baseball and opening day is March. What do we got here? March 25th.
Yeah.
The Yankees, actually, San Francisco is hosting the Yankees for that game.
Oh.
And then the 26th is when everybody plays.
Oh.
So
Cool.
the official opening game is March 25th. So get ready, warm weather baseball. I love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I can't
It's-
wait.
Yeah. And speaking of baseball, I guess, Angelo, you got a little experience here.
I do have a little bit of a career behind me. I do. I was in the baseball world for a short while. Happened very fast, but long time happens really quick when you love what you do. It happens pretty quick.
Right, right.
And what did you do exactly? What was your? You mentioned something about the Dodgers.
Yeah, so I had a couple different roles. So as soon as I left Phillipsburg High School and I went to college in Miami, I never really thought that baseball was ever going to work out the way that it did. And I was given an opportunity to hang around and just kind of stuck. I had a couple different junior college coaching opportunities, which opened the doors later on after years of doing that. And they hired me basically as their video scouting coordinator, and I work with player development and a little bit of everything else. And it was a short-lived window because the people that bring you in, you're basically their sponsor.
Oh.
So I know you, Bill, and you get me a job, and then you get fired. I'm one of your guys, and they want, someone else's guy. So Ted's getting his guys in here, and at the end of the day, it's his show to run now.
Sure.
And but I learned a lot. They paid me for a couple years, so it was all right.
Oh.
We get contracts just like players, although we're not playing 162 games. We just have to deal with 162 problems daily. But yeah, so after that happened, I took a year off, and I went back and constantly throughout my baseball career. A lot of people don't know this. When you're building your career in that kind of field, you still need side jobs. You still need to do stuff. So it worked out good. I'd work for my family's business and still work in the pizza shop, and always kind of went back to that and had my opportunity to go to a very good Division II school, which was Valdosta State University,
Oh.
and spent a very long time there. And then kind of things happen, and you just end up where your roots are, as they say. So
So you actually played. What position were you playing as far as?
I was the
And you
best
were-
catch and throw catcher that couldn't hit anything. And they say catchers don't need to hit, but I couldn't even hit
Okay.
anything. The tees were rough. So
Was that kind of like a professional league in Italy?
it is. The professional leagues in Italy, they go back to World War I and World War II. When they had the Americans come over there, you always hear like the Joe DiMaggios and the Ted Williams when they served the country. They played in their own little leagues, and it goes back to Italy. It was Germans, it was Italians, and when they had the Americans there, they basically had their own infrastructure. They started baseball. And it's crazy, the history of it. There's a book, and I can't recall the name of it, but they drew fans. I mean, after the wars through the 60s, 70s, and early 80s, I mean, they were drawing like anywhere between 5 to 10,000 fans in the right cities. And it was just crazy. It really was. They were so passionate about it. Little different than here. Double headers, you never didn't douse a bottle of wine in between a double header and eat a couple pounds of pasta. But other than that, they were very knowledgeable on making sure you're properly fielding, properly throwing, mechanical adjustments, so on and so forth. And it's really crazy. Even to this day, they still play. I believe the problem with baseball in Europe is there is a 6 hour time difference. And the reason why that's so hard for them to adjust to major league standards or at least collegiate standards is this: you learn by seeing, you learn by doing. But if you can't see what you're doing, hypothetically speaking, it's tough. You can't watch Major League Baseball games because you have to have Sky Television.
Oh, okay.
So you're seeing older games, and they do, but like they don't. Their TVs and stuff. They have what we have here, but it's more European based.
Okay.
So from a basketball standpoint, I think it's more globalized. Hockey, soccer, it's globalized. Baseball has become a world baseball game, so to speak, but it's played differently, and it just affects kids like that because they're learning something, but they're not getting newer ideas. They're not learning suicide squeezes. They're not learning how to, manage outs over the course of a game. So I mean, today they aren't either. I mean, they're just hitting the ball as far as you can, and then your bat speed and all that jazz.
Right, that's what they're
But
measuring, yeah.
but for them that didn't grow up with it, they're not seeing the Barry Bonds. They're not seeing the Ken Griffey Juniors. They're not seeing the Alex Rodriguez's. So it's tougher for them to relate to a all-star caliber, Hall of Fame caliber player because they never see that. Now they see all the soccer guys.
Right. Yeah, of course.
So that's kind of how it worked out. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was a different experience for me. We live like rock stars.
Good.
I loved it over there. I'll be honest with you. The toughest part in my town that I grew up in over there was they did not really know baseball. So I was like that guy because I felt like we were spoiled. We'd buy newspapers every week, and it would put the box scores in there, and I would go to everywhere that I went. To the meat markets, to the supermarkets where they had like the little mom and pop supermarkets, and I'd leave them a newspaper because they liked me because I bought their product. I didn't want to go to the big stores. I wanted to go to your wine store. I wanted to go to Bill's sausage store and like buy sausage, which a lot of people don't know this. They're on a different metric system, so you don't ask for a pound of pasta. You don't ask for a pound of meat. And then I had to learn everything in grams and kilos, which to this day I still get a little screwed up. I asked for 5,000 kilos one day of salami, so that didn't work out real well. But
That's pretty good.
we figured that out, and I had a couple old ladies curse me out, which is very popular. But it is what it is.
And where was this in Italy?
This was a town called Avigliana, Italy, which is famously known for being very close to the French border.
Okay.
And another area during the war, people used to hide in these areas because the mountains are so high. So near the Bardonecchias, the Torinos, obviously the Olympics were there years ago, which I've learned throughout my career in the places that I've been. Makes differences where you go. I mean, I tell people stories. If you go to Italy right now, you guys can take your wives and you can sit on the train and everything's in English from the European English side of things, right? They didn't have that stuff while I was there. I mean, it was you spoke Italian or you didn't what you call it. They didn't have air conditioning on there, no heat. I mean, it was rough. It was really rough, but you learned, and I think. We're in a world today that everybody needs things now. Snap your fingers, it's there.
Right.
Google, AI, all this jazz. And I feel the only negative part of that, and there is a lot of good parts of technology, but you're taking away the failure aspect.
Yeah.
In any job that you have, whether I'm selling a pizza, you're selling a car, anything, pricing memorabilia stuff in your wonderful man cave over here, you have to buy something bad or you have to have something go wrong because that's how you learn. And I think people don't realize that, and that's how some people grow up and like they don't know their way out of the town that they live in.
Wow. Are you still? There was a note here I saw. Are you still considered the baseball guru to a lot here? Is it back here more than it was?
Not
in Italy?
not really. It was weird. How Italy works out from a baseball standpoint is they value you when you're there. And they appreciate the knowledge and the information that you're giving them. And I use the example of bunting all the time. I'll show you guys how to bunt and everything will be fine, right? And then when you leave, they're going to take the bat and turn it upside down. They're going to just put their own hybrid
Do
on
their own
it.
thing. Okay.
Which, at the end of the day, I mean, look, that's part of life too. I mean, if
Sure.
I work for you and you do something, let's say in the pizza world, and you make a pizza a certain way. Well, when I open my own shop, I'm going to have my spin off, and
Right.
and that's that. So I think I understand their ways of thinking, but it's like you kind of disappear a little bit, and I still think it's because that is not their quote unquote pastime.
Right.
Soccer is still their biggest thing, and
Oh,
will always be. So
it always will be. Yeah.
So your grandfather
yes,
started the pizzeria.
he did.
Nicolosi's back in 1956. Is that right?
That was back in the Brooklyn days, if I
Brooklyn,
recall correctly,
yeah.
and then he moved over shortly to Queens,
That's
off
right.
of Jamaica Avenue, which that place is still there, and I have seen it.
Wow.
In a rough neck of the woods,
Yeah.
but little
then-
different.
In '64, he came here.
He did. I believe the story as it went was he and my grandmother went to a wedding, and back then in the 60s, the mafia was still very powerful, and they kind of did their strong arming and so on and so forth. And I don't remember who it exactly was. It was either a pharmacy or it was a dry cleaners. And basically, someone went there to collect. The guy told him to kick rocks and so many nice words. And the day that happened, next day, the guy got shot in the head.
Wow.
So my grandfather was very nervous, and kind of rolled through Phillipsburg. And
Yeah, why P-Bird
Yeah,
from
why-
all the
yeah.
way from Jamaica, Queens?
he was going to a wedding somewhere in the Lehigh Valley. And he got off 78 and he was going into 22. And there was a sign that said basically pizzeria wanted. And pizzerias weren't really big. I mean, you guys know Joe Ruffino and the Pizza Fellas. They have,
Yeah.
my grandfather started with Sal, his father.
Sal's father.
Sal's grandfather. So
Oh.
the Sicilian tradition, so I don't confuse everybody here, is the first son is named after the father's father. So if you have kids in Italy and you're related to a Sicilian, the old school tradition is your first son is named after the father's father. The second son is named after the mother's father, and then after that you can name your kids whatever you want. But so you got
I didn't
some
know
time to
that.
work with just in case you mess that up. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
My wife is from Sicily.
so
I
that- so-
can't
so there you
think
go.
of anything.
So and that's how it all worked out. And him and Joe's father were very very close, and that's how the whole thing started. So he went over there, and the pizzeria, I explained to you guys when you popped in, was literally half the size.
Yeah,
It was
you
literally
didn't-
a
You just had the counter there, basically. You didn't
counter
have
and
the-
like 3 tables. Yeah.
and 3 tables.
Yep.
You didn't really have the big dining room
That's
that you
right.
got now.
Nope, not at all. And he wanted to expand, and then shortly after that, 8 to 10 years later, I don't remember exactly, he knocked the wall out, and it is what it is today.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. You just really wouldn't realize it. I mean, pizza was not a real big thing in the Lehigh Valley at that time.
No.
Right.
Right. It's like everybody says, nothing compares to New York style pizza or like North Jersey pizza.
Yeah.
Doesn't compare.
Yeah, it's still one of the oldest pizzerias in the country.
Well, this is a very huge heated debate.
So
So
have that on the wall there.
we do. No, we do. It's technically, and I'll explain this.
That's kind of what this said. Technically.
Yeah, technically. So it's the oldest pizzeria in the state of New Jersey. When it comes to a pizzeria. Now,
Okay.
the definition of a pizzeria is a place that serves pizza.
Pizza.
So it's not a cheesesteak place. It's
right.
not a French fries and hot dogs and hamburgers place that has pizza. It's a pizzeria. So that's actually been broken down into a lot of different sliced and diced ways. If you go to Italy and you go to a pizzeria, I'm not lying. What my grandfather has built in Phillipsburg is identical to there.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple tables. It's really hot. Air conditioning is still not a premium over there.
Mm.
And literally, I mean, it's different. It's fresh dough, and what they don't use, they don't refrigerate. I mean, you're using what you make today,
Yeah.
but it's different.
I do have to say, I mean, I've been in the Valley since 1983. I think your pizza, your regular Neapolitan pizza, is the best that I've had.
Well, thank you.
And I've tried everything. There are some good ones, but I always say Nicolosi's is the best pizza, I think. There's something about your sauce. It just seems, or do you call it gravy?
No, we call it sauce.
Okay, because Joe and I we call it gravy a lot of times, but there's just something about it. I don't know what it is. It's a sweet sauce or something.
Listen,
like
there's
that.
a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into that sauce, that cheese, and everything else. But I will say it the way it was taught to me.
Yeah.
There's nothing that comes good out of cutting corners, and when you do it the
Right.
right way, and it takes time,
Yeah.
it
You just have a certain tace. It's
Yeah.
just just something
I've had
about it. I
it twice
just really
so
like.
far, and
Oh,
definitely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, better. My wife is a real thin crust, crunchy kind of person too. So she loves.
So
she loves it.
she's got to like it too.
So we.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know if you do you know the Reservoir Tavern by chance?
I am not familiar with the Reservoir Tavern.
That is out
Parsippany
in
or Boonton,
Parsippany,
actually.
Boonton, where we grew up.
Okay.
Up
Yeah.
that area, and they do. There's incredible pizza, probably some of the best around.
Yeah.
Thin crust, bubbly crust, the whole thing, and it's a little place that's been around since what 1902 or
God.
something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, their last name is
But they-
Bavacqua, I think, if I'm not
Balavacqua, yeah.
Balavacqua, yeah.
But they do other things. They're not just pizza.
I gotcha.
They do dinners and
They
all
have a
that.
bar and everything.
Bar,
so
yeah,
they
yeah.
have dinners.
But
But
you
their
got a
pizza is
quaint,
very
nice
good.
little place there. That's it's nice. It's quiet.
Well, the biggest problem with the place, and I think we may have touched upon this a little bit, is we're also I know for a fact we're the oldest in the Lehigh Valley, and the funny part is we always get thrown under the bus that we are not part of the Lehigh Valley
Because Easton and
because it's a Pennsylvania thing. It's the Delaware Valley and it's the Lehigh Valley, and people don't realize that Phillipsburg starts the Lehigh Valley.
yes,
yeah, that is
it
part
does.
of it. Yeah,
It is.
but,
But it is
you
good.
don't get credit.
I do have to say it's probably I think the best pizza in the valley, if you ask me. So
Well, thanks, Bill.
yep.
Well, now that Phillipsburg is part of the Lehigh Valley,
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
that's great.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, I was there only twice, and I'm definitely coming back. It's just fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Who do you think is going to win the World Series this year? Dodgers again?
I do not. You know, the problem that I have with Major League Baseball is I personally think Major League Baseball, since it's shrunk in the draft, there's less talent pool. I think the Dodgers prove to everyone that you never know. Money doesn't always buy a championship. They have gotten hot twice, and truth be told, not because I have sour grapes, they have won a World Series 2 years in a row with literally one starting pitcher.
Wow.
If I will take this to my grave, and you guys remember, I was a little kid and I don't. When Kirk Gibson hit that home run, there's not a person in the world that would say the A's had a chance to lose that World Series. And when Kirk Gibson hit that home run,
Right.
it was over.
Yeah.
It didn't matter who showed up, who pitched, played the field,
I
or hit.
remember
Played.
that.
There's
That
no
was-
way.
That was unreal.
And I was actually in Italy when that World Series happened, and I will tell you that, come on, man, you got a 1-2 count. I mean, you're up. I mean, you're not you're, a guy. Same Kirk Gibson story, man. I mean, that was when Freddie Freeman did that thing to his ankle, and his ankle was all messed up. And if I recall correctly from reading box scores, I think he was limited in playing time after he hit that home run. And look, man, it was destiny. Happened. But I think the Yankees play a World Series 10 out of 10 times. They win 9 more of them.
Now, I'm a big Oriole fan. Didn't you tell me that you knew Ryan Mountcastle or something?
I did. I will tell you about Ryan Mountcastle. So Ryan Mountcastle was a shortstop in Orlando, Florida. We recruited him very, very heavily, and I think he was committed to the University of Central Florida, I believe. And at the time, right before I was with the Los Angeles Dodgers, we were trying to get him to go to a junior college. And our sales pitch, and look, anyone that says they don't lie or cuts corners to get ahead in this world they've never worked a day in their life. So he wanted to play shortstop. He wanted to play shortstop so bad. And he had an arm injury that really kind of affected his draft stock a little bit.
Oh.
And truth be told, they tried. You can look at the minor league things. I did minor league coverage with the Orioles. I've been to Sarasota a million times. Their manager was going nuts. They kept pushing and pushing and pushing him. And at the time, who I feel is one of the best managers in the game that's had a lot of bad luck in his career, the Orioles had Buck Showalter.
Mhm.
And I know Buck personally because he's from the Panhandle.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, my first head coach that I coached with in Tallahassee was his roommate when they were at the Yankees when
Oh,
Billy
wow.
Martin was managing the Yankees
Wow.
years ago.
Oh, I thought Buck was a terrific coach.
You know,
I
he's
really
had
did.
such bad luck, man. That poor guy, he builds up these teams and they
Yeah,
win. It's
He built
crazy.
up. Didn't he build up the Arizona
He did, then they won the World Series.
and won the World Series
He
after
went.
a
He
year?
built up Texas, and then they went to the World Series but lost.
Right.
The Yankees the year he left, and they won.
Yeah.
The poor guy
I
can't
know.
catch a
he's-
break.
Right.
So, but you know that's how fast things change. I mean, the Mets had like the best record in the NL, and the next year with injuries and everything else that happened, they had that big free agency year. They signed Scherzer, they signed Verlander, they had everything put in play, and injuries are a part of the game, and it is a team game. But there is a significant difference with the talent level, the fine line. I mean, Derek Jeter had said it many, many times, and I told many, many kids, the difference between hitting 300 and hitting 270 is about an extra 2 hits a week. Now they're getting 5, 6, 7, 800 at bats, so do the math. But
Right,
Yeah.
with that being said, and in college, what makes it a little bit more difficult is this, and you hear this and you see it all the time, and with high school kids too. How Bill, can I recruit you? And you're struggling, you're hitting 220, but you're on all these radars. You have the talent pool that is around you, and you're better than. They talk about physique, how you look, your body language, and all this other stuff, but you don't perform that well in college. And you hit a bad spell, and you're like, oh for 20. Well, think about it. I mean, you're only getting 200 plate appearances in college because you're playing 3 games a week, which is why when people break the ice into minor league baseball, they never leave college. The Dave Winfield days are over where you leave college and go straight to the big leagues. That's very difficult. And it's also a train your body. I mean, even in college, I mean, they're older guys, but you need to get your body used to playing every day rather than 3 days a week. You need to get used to playing 6, 7 days a week. Oh, and then by the way, you're putting travel in that. I mean, it's a lot on your body, especially the younger you are, the harder it is.
One of my favorite memories of just the game of baseball is, and I'm a big Oriole fan. I went to Yankee Stadium. My wife surprised me with tickets. This is years ago. This is before the strike.
Okay.
It was 94, 93, I think.
Cal
it was.
Ripken?
It was the Orioles and the Yankees. Yankees won 2-1. It was a shitty day. It was drizzling out. It was just a horrible day. The game was over.
Made it worse that you lost.
Well,
That didn't help matters. Yeah.
It didn't help.
The game was over.
Didn't help.
And my wife says, "Why don't we stay here just for a little while until the crowd gets out?" I said, "Yeah, we'll do that." Cal Ripken and Don Mattingly stood there in the rain signing autographs together next
Wow.
to each other. They were signing baseball caps, ticket stubs, brochures.
Wow.
They sat there or stood there probably for a good hour. And I said, "Look at this. This is unbelievable. Look how nice that is." I mean, it was a nice
Did you
scene.
get a signature?
No, I didn't. He was way down. We were up nosebleed seats.
Oh.
But,
Well, and don't forget, in those days, you could still somehow like weasel your way down to the thing. Now with the
Yeah, you
netting
can't.
on there,
Yeah.
Oh,
you can't
yeah.
do that.
They
And
got armed guards at the aisles.
the problem is too is that they the issue is security. I mean, we are in a different world right now, and you don't know what nut jobs. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
When you guys were growing up, and even when I was a kid, no one ever thought of going through a metal detector. The only time you ever
right.
did that,
Yeah.
I remember an Oriole story for you. So my father won tickets for us. I don't remember how he won them, but we went in 1992 when Camden Yards first opened. So he took me to an All-Star game, which I will tell you, I was very thankful, and I love my father to death. I went to one All-Star game. I have no interest ever going again. But
Was that the one that Ken Griffey hit the
yeah,
back
hit the
of
warehouse. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
hit
were
the
in.
warehouse.
Yeah. That
Yep.
was the home run derby. Yeah, we
That's
did
right.
that. As a matter of fact, they brought Reggie Jackson there, and as old as he was at the time, he was still launching out. I mean, balls were
Right.
just jumping out of there.
Yeah.
And they booed Piazza because he couldn't hit a home run. It was crazy. But that was when he was still with the Dodgers, I believe. So we're there, and I'll never forget it because Fan Fest was like the coolest thing ever because you're a kid. You can see and touch.
Sure.
And there's all these people there. And, they say you live and you learn. I'll tell you the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life when it came to autographs. I was like an autograph freak when I was a kid. So everybody wanted Gary Sheffield's autograph. And Gary Sheffield at the time just got traded to the Florida Marlins. And the Marlins had these cool turquoise uniforms, and they were horrible, but he was Gary Sheffield. So he signed like 1 or 2 autographs, and I ran down there, and he's like, "No more, kid. No more, no more, no more." I'm like, "God damn." So this big guy, this big bald white guy says, "Hey, kid, give me your ball. I'll sign it for you." So I go, "Who are you?"
Oh.
And he says, "I'm the voice of the San Francisco Giants."
Oh.
I said, "I don't even like the San Francisco Giants." And it was John Miller.
John Miller,
Who's now in the Hall of Fame, by the way.
Well, he was also the broadcaster for the Orioles for a long time.
A long time, yeah.
Long time.
Sunday night, ESPN.
Yep.
I had a quick story. I did security forever, and I remember getting this appointment. And it was I believe he was up in Upper Black Eddy. And it said William White. And so I'm thinking, and I call him up for directions at the time, no GPS, is it here? And I hear this voice.
And
I'm like,
sounds familiar.
holy smokes, does this guy sound familiar? It was Bill White.
Yeah.
Played for the Yankees.
Yeah.
Then he was an announcer for the Yankees forever.
A long time.
And I got to meet him a long time ago.
So you guys being 2 Lehigh Valley guys, I'll shock you with this one. So Bill White, is he still alive?
I don't think so. I think
So
passed.
he was an active eater at the Regalsville Inn.
Oh,
And the guy that he would always go with, you guys are very familiar with, and he's still alive, is Sandy Koufax.
wow.
So there was a girl that I knew there that worked there, and I asked her, I was like, wow, I was like, Sandy Koufax comes here. And they said, do you know why they like to come here? Because no one bothers them. It's a different
That's
crowd
right.
that goes
That's
there.
right.
They don't
Yeah.
know they're baseball players, and they don't want people to know. Like, they just want to just have, and they will talk to anybody. They've taken pictures with people, but they don't want to be bothered with baseball knowledge, questions, stories,
sure.
autographs, nothing.
He is still alive. He's
Is he?
92.
Yeah.
Okay,
They were
92.
members at the Northampton Country Club.
So Bill White, he was telling me back in his day, in the early days of baseball, they were not kind to these players at all.
Nope.
He was not the super rich kind of guys like they are today, and he struggled a lot. He really did. He in the long run, he ended up making more money doing announcing than anything else.
I'm sure he did. It was
Back in those
different.
days,
When
yeah.
I was out in LA, I learned a lot about Jackie Robinson. I learned actually a lot more about Brooklyn living in LA than I've ever done on the East Coast. You know, the people in LA are very passionate and very thankful for what Brooklyn built prior to arriving in Los Angeles. And it's funny because if you ever see any Los Angeles person in Brooklyn, they're like, you stole the Dodgers, you stole the Dodgers.
Stole
But
them.
it's not them. Like it's
Right.
but it's just an interesting dynamic. How like all the people in New York hate the people in LA, and all the people in LA are like actually very open armed, very friendly with because
But they
you
also
built-
lost the Giants, too.
they did, and the history behind it. You have to learn about this stuff when you work for an organization, otherwise you look like a clown. Where the Brooklyn Nets are today is where they wanted to move the Dodgers because they felt that it would be easy for public transportation. And the big kicker why they never did it was because there was no parking. They still don't have parking for the Brooklyn Nets.
Oh.
It's crazy.
Right.
The Larry King show, I met Larry King one time, and we had a long conversation. And I just happened to be sitting there. When you work for the organization, you know, you get preferential seating and stuff like that. And I'm sitting next to this guy, and another guy, incognito, wearing a dorky hat, looks like someone sat on it and started talking. Had those same big glasses on, and really nice guy. Really, really cool guy.
I remember I got an autograph from Cal Ripken. I did. I work in Flemington, New Jersey, and I was driving to work one morning, and I passed a Roy Rogers,
Yeah.
and there was a sign out said Cal Ripken will be here between 12 and 2 o'clock
Wow.
at a Roy Rogers. So I had to back up and turn around. I said, "Am I seeing this right?"
Like the restaurant, Roy Rogers.
The restaurant.
Yeah.
So I got to work and I called my wife. I said, "Can you meet me we live in Easton. Can you meet me in Flemington? I want to go to Roy Rogers. Cal Ripken's going to be there." And I said, I had a Vineyard Vines tie, Oriole tie. Cost me
Okay.
like $90, $100. I said, "Bring the tie." So she brought the tie, and there was also a T-shirt that I had from him, and he was there. And it turns out I didn't know this, but he said, I asked him, I said, "Why you do a lot for Roy Rogers?" He said, "Well, when I was a little kid, my dad would take me and Billy Ripken to the ball game and this, that, and maybe practice. And when we would leave, it would be a normal thing. We'd just stop at Roy Rogers to get
Wow.
something to eat." He says, and it just stuck in my mind, and I like Roy Rogers, and that's why he did it.
But with
But
Bill's,
you know what I had that I forgot to tell my wife? I have a picture of him in the dugout with Bill Clinton and Al Gore when he broke the record in 1995.
Wow.
And I said, boy, that would have been a perfect, to get the back of it
it's
signed.
or
Yep.
something.
And I forgot all about that picture.
What Bill didn't tell you though, it was just a guy named Cal Ripken. It really wasn't.
What?
It was just a guy named Cal Ripken. It wasn't really him.
No, it was
No, it was.
It
But
was.
the reason the reason I said that is because Roy Rogers advertising this, you'd think they'd be like
Oh.
mobbed completely.
Yeah,
You know,
mobbed, yeah.
somebody was coming. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great story. I love
Yeah, it is. I couldn't believe he was there. There he was. Yeah.
That's wild.
Right in Flemington, New Jersey.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know that the signature thing. We mentioned it when we came in. I used to have a 1993 Indy Pace truck, and I'll tell you the quick story how I got the signatures. Because I had the truck, Nazareth was still open with racing.
Okay.
And I pull in, and they saw the truck. They're waving me in. I parked right down by the pits. Right.
They thought that you were part of the.
He was part of the crew. Yeah, he was important.
But the
Yeah.
night before, Mario was signing at Kmart on 191 at the time. And I got a hold of his publicist. I said, "Listen, I got this truck. I want him to sign." So he came out. Sure enough, after all the signature stuff he did, he signed the truck. The next day, we went in on a Saturday. And I parked the truck and got Mario's all excited, and Michael literally parked behind me. He came out of Formula One because he had a fallout there. He left Formula One halfway through the season that year. Mike, I said, your dad signed the driver's door. Come over here. So he signed the passenger door. In the interim, my wife actually wrote a letter to Emerson Fittipaldi days before the race. Somehow the letter got through a bunch of people and got to him, and he came over to our side
That's
and
wild.
signed the truck. It was wild. We were so excited. We got 3 signatures. Spent the day there, watched all the time trials, did the whole thing. We're on our way home. Film cameras back then. We stopped to drop off film. We're leaving the parking lot. Cars coming this way. Guy waves. I wave back. It's Al Jr.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
That's how I nailed him
And
in
you
the
nailed
parking
him
lot.
to get the. And then you had it covered with what?
Well, what I did was after they signed it with a paint pen, then I masked it off and I sealed it with a spray. So even through car washes and all, and
Yeah,
it was
it's
on
still
there
sit
forever.
there. Yeah.
Then I got kids and I had to get rid of it and ended up with a Suburban. And then Bill ran a
Carfax.
Carfax on it and it was totaled. Guy that had
Oh
it
my god.
got nailed. But I wish I still had that thing.
Oh,
today.
that would 1993 Indy pace car
8-cylinder
Chevy pickup.
Bilstein shocks. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was a nice truck.
Anyway.
Wow, it was real nice.
That was
truck.
my big signature stories.
Yeah. Yep.
They got
baseball
totaled.
guys.
Damn.
I just want to go back to the pizza for a second. There was a celebration of your grandfather's 100th anniversary or 100th birthday. You had a whole bunch of people there.
No, that was he just actually. I'll backtrack a little bit. He just turned what would have been 100
which
this
would have
past
been
year.
right?
But we had our 60th anniversary 2 years ago,
Oh, okay.
and that's an interesting story in itself. So I
knew you had something to
I
go
move
with.
home, and I'm talking to my father about it, and I'm like, yo, we're gonna do this and everything else, and I don't think he had any idea it was gonna turn into what it did. So I said, I'm gonna start advertising.
What it
He's like,
says
yeah,
here.
knock yourself out. So I'm like, all right. So at this time, I start interviewing people because I know that we need a social media thing. In your guys' day, and even when I was a child, advertising was a lot of money. If Bill has a good pie, he's going to tell you, and it's just going to take off. You don't need to advertise. Well, the internet's free. I mean, till this day of time anyway. So
Yeah.
I talked to like 4 or 5 different girls that wanted to do it, and it was more of they were telling me what they were going to do versus what I felt we needed as a business. And what I mean by that is you can put 100 different things up in a month, but if you don't do something else for another couple months or whatever, it's kind of like you're dust in the wind.
Yeah.
So my sister, who I love her to death, she's like my other half,
What's her name?
Selena.
Selena.
She's like begging me and like give me hell. I want to do it. I want to do it. I don't want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. I said, Selena, I don't think because you understand family and business and friends. You're gonna hit a crossroads and you're gonna go crazy. And she's like, look, I don't roll the dough. I don't want flour all over me. I'm not going home covered in sauce. Like when you go out with the guys, you're covered in sauce. I'm not going to do any of that. Just give me a chance and I'll do it. So it's all right. So here's what we're going to do. I said, Selena, this is it. This is your first one. This is your dry run. Knock it out. I said, okay, what do you want, Ange? I said, I want about 2 or 3 mayors, but I want this to be about the Lehigh Valley because once again, we're never Lehigh Valley. It's not a Phillipsburg versus Easton thing. It happened in September, so the Easton-Peaburg rivalry is already starting. And I said, I will do my best to go out and market this to the important people that have been customers forever. And if there's a specific politician you want me to go talk to, I'll just show up in my striped shirt and just tell them who I am and just tell them, hey, pop in. You're getting a free slice. I mean, what are you going to do? We'll knock it out. Fine. So through some heated conversations, she took off. Well, long story short, I think we had 20 mayors.
Wow.
We had a couple politicians there. I mean, she really knocked it out of the park. The worst part of the day was 2 funny things. One of which, out of all the Phillipsburg and Easton people,
Right.
we had Sal Panto. Selena had, I think, the mayor Palmer. Like, she did a really good job in Pennsylvania and in New Jersey. We had Bloomsbury, Alpha, Boa. I didn't even know they had mayors in those little cities, but she knocked them all out. We took 1,000,000 pictures. It was phenomenal. The first problem was the only person in Phillipsburg that didn't get a chance to, and look, family has always come first, and that's just the way that it should be. If you can't spend time for your family, you got issues. Is the principal at Phillipsburg High School. Because his kid's first football game in high school, it was a JV game, and he was starting, and he was a freshman on JV, and he was playing that Saturday for some reason at the same time we did that.
Wow.
So he calls me up and he goes, Ange, I got you. Sorry, what you got? He goes, I'll send the band, I'll send the cheerleaders, I'll send the step team, and I'll send the choir. I was like, all right. So my old man's a little on the feisty side sometimes.
Sure.
So
Well,
we've done these things before. Usually we try to do it like every 5-10 years, but now I'm already getting bombarded. It's definitely gonna be an every 5 year thing. So we stayed there all night. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to get done because you don't want to obviously run out, but you definitely want way more than way less. So we're really tired. Me and this one kid that stayed with me all night. We're doing sauce. We're doing extra dough. We're doing this. We're doing that. So I said, yo, let's go grab something to eat. So we went to the diner, got something to eat. We come back. Who's the first person there but the damn guy running the choir and the band?
Oh.
So my father just happens to be there at the time.
oh, great.
So he starts fucking out. He goes, hey, buddy, we're not open until 10 o'clock or whatever. We're starting 11 o'clock. I go, Dad, that's the band director. He goes, I don't give a damn who he is. He can wait like everybody else. I go, no, I don't think you understand. He's playing the band. He goes, yeah, whatever. Go sing me the Godfather song. And he's not. And in the pizzeria in the mornings, no matter what time of the year it is, even when it's freezing cold outside, it's very hot in there.
Sure.
So,
You got these
so he goes,
1,000-degree ovens.
open the door. He's like, I'm ready to die. So we open the door and they start playing. No, 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 no. My dad's like, that's the song from The Godfather. I go, yeah, Dad, that's the guy running the band. He goes, I didn't even like his mom. Like you got so much going on. It's
Yeah,
just,
he
it's
didn't
crazy. So
Great.
the crazy part was they thought they were actually getting fed that day, and there was a lot of them there. I mean, it was great. We had the TV people there, we had radio people there. It was phenomenal. It went off great. And then it starts raining like cats and dogs, so we're a little bit nervous.
Sure.
Well, like every good thing, there's always something that goes wrong. Well, Rite Aid called the cops on us because where we're located in the Hillcrest Shopping Center, for people that don't know, it's about 200 yards till the other side. You get to the other side of the mall. Well, we're blocking the back door. So we're worried that it's raining and people aren't going to show up. Now we're going to have all this extra dough we don't know. My grandfather had a special spot in his heart for underprivileged children. So all the proceeds that day went to the St. Jude's Children's Foundation. That's what we've always donated to.
Fantastic.
So we get a call. We were not answering phones, not this. So Low-Pat Police basically had to field the call. And they said, look, when you guys are around for 62 years at Rite Aid and you're blocking Nicolosi's, like, then we'll talk. But at that point in time, this is a one-day thing, and it's only for like 3 or 4 hours. So, yeah, good luck. So, and the funny part is they say, and they end up going out of business like 2 weeks later anyway.
Oh, great.
So it didn't matter. And it was
Right.
really, really funny. But it all worked out really, really well.
You mean the Rite Aid store, the pharmacy?
the pharmacy, yeah,
they're
because they
out of
filed
it.
for
They
bankruptcy.
They
Yeah,
are.
chapter.
They are.
So now
Yes.
they're out of
They
business
are.
totally.
And
But
they
they
were
were
the
one of
guys
the
that
first
complained.
ones to go out of business. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a great story.
What is with the what's that? The scissors.
So I'll tell you the story. So this suit comes from a place called Ponzi's Tailor Shop. They've been in Phillipsburg in the same spot on South Main Street for 75 years. So I don't know the story behind the scissors. So I asked Lou Lorenzetti, who's been working at that location for 70 years.
Wow.
He's 80-something years old, and he came to the United States when he was young. He came right from Rome. And I said, hey, Lou, I said, I'm noticing this. My last couple of suits I got from you were there's a scissor on them. I said, what's that? What's that for? He goes, just tell them I cut it for you. So I guess that's what we're rolling with. I guess that's what he told me. So yeah, I have no idea.
So what do you think? Just ask you often. What do you think about current events that are going on today, like the war in Iran? And what's your take on this whole thing?
I'll be honest. I haven't followed it a ton, but I've followed it enough. You know, things lead up to other things. And from things that I have seen, and I do have quite a few friends, I have kids that I've coached that are Marines, Navy SEALs, and things like that. But when you're affecting the country that you live in, that needs to be taken seriously without getting too crazy. And I feel that from my friends that are involved in the day-to-day operations from keeping our country safe, when someone tells you basically stop doing what you're doing, you listen. And if you tell me that you grew up in a rough neck of New York or Philadelphia, and I tell you not to hang around this neck of the woods because there's going to be some problems, when something goes wrong, the only person you have to blame is yourself.
Right.
And obviously, you guys have heard me talk about my Italian experiences, which I've been very blessed to do that and everything else. And I love going to Italy. They are an ally of the United States, like other countries, but understand everyone wants to say that everything else is better in every facet of life. But what I would tell anybody is this: live somewhere else. Don't go on vacation bill to Italy for 2 weeks. Go on a sabbatical for a year. learn what a siesta is for a long period of time. Try to go to the grocery store on a Sunday. Good luck. So these are things that we take for granted, and these aren't
Yes.
even big things in a
Right.
Republican or Democratic environment.
Before you go any further, my daughter she was stationed in Aviano Air Force Base, which is about 30 miles north of Venice.
Okay.
And her biggest thing she used to tell me, she goes, Dad, Italy is beautiful, it's great, but I can't get a sub like I can at Wawa at 1 o'clock in the morning.
No, and you can, and I think people take that for granted. Now, COVID has drawn us back a little bit. A lot of the places, are closing earlier for downtime, and you're just not going to pay someone to stay open later. However, this needed to be done. I don't care who's in the White House, whether it's a male, female, or whatever their beliefs are. At the end of the day, your job is to protect the country. And I feel that, Donald Trump said himself, whether you like him, love him, or hate him, it doesn't matter. Going to war is an ultimate last resort. So when you do that, look, there's a lot of every action has a reaction, right? There's going to be people leaving home. There's going to be people not coming back. There's going to be families that get broken up because of this. This is human nature. But
Yep.
that's what you sign up for when you join the U.S. forces. And, it is an unfortunate thing, and it's something that has to happen. Bill, you're in car sales. You did not make everyone happy that you sold a car to. I'm sure there's people that left that said, hey, I didn't like the deal that you gave me, or I went somewhere else because it was a better thing, and they may have paid more money. You're not going to please everybody no matter what you do. And I just think that this is something that needs to be done, and I think the best part of this that no one talks about, because the past is always disappearing very quickly. But, 9/11, that didn't just start in one day. I mean, that was based off
sure.
of decades of
Decades,
training
right.
and thoughts and theories and everything else. So I'm not totally in tune to the nitty gritty, but I know enough about the situation. But when someone's threatening your allies, it's only a matter of time before they threaten your homeland, and that's something none of us ever want to repeat.
I mean, the guy did say death to America, death to Israel.
40 years or so.
And it's funny because they're lobbing now missiles into Qatar, into
Saudi
Bahrain,
Arabia.
into Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait, and all that.
Not
And,
making friends.
and they're not making any friends. You would think that somebody would back them. Nobody's backing them.
No.
The thing that's going on with Hezbollah in Lebanon, that's just a terrorist group. It's not
Yeah.
the government of Lebanon. I
Right.
know they're trying to stop them, but
Well, I like what you said about, we take advantage of a lot of the stuff in the U.S. and all these people that complain about what's happening here. They should try living in some of these other
Oh, I've
countries.
listened to people, and people say it every day. I've been here, and I've been there, and I do this, and I do that. That place is so much better than that. Well, I'll tell you what. Don't go on vacation there. Go stay at an Airbnb,
Right.
or go sign a visa to go stay there for an extended period of time. And I can tell you, I love Italy. I love going back, and I do enjoy it there. But doing things on a day-to-day basis, I'll tell you my number one argument with going to Italy is it's still a very male dominant country. If you want to get something done, they literally want to know the man of the house. And it's not like the United States, you're the man of the house, but your wife runs the roost. It's not that
Yeah,
way.
right.
It's no, we want to deal with the decision maker, and that's your husband, your boyfriend, the guy that owns this. And it's unfortunate because, it shouldn't be like that. Now they are changing. I mean, obviously the woman running the country in Italy right now, Merloni, I think she's doing a good job, but I mean, she still has people. Look, she's just a dumb woman. Like that's the mindset. Why she's terrible? Why is she terrible? Like it's been corrupt forever and ever and ever, and she's trying to make it a little bit more down to earth, a little bit more organized, structurally better, so on and so forth. But she's a woman. Like they just totally turn the head the other way, and it's been this way forever, so it's got to go back to that way. And
We talked about the Sopranos and the women that played the woman boss in Italy, and he said there would never be anything like that.
no,
Not
never.
in the U.S. or whatever.
Very very tough.
I remember as a kid, though, my family, most of them came from Sicily and all, and being with the uncles, always just being with the family, it was always the guy's decision to do whatever, back in those days, which wasn't that far back. But, the mom, she was cooking. She did all this cooking. She did that. She ran the kitchen, but everything else was run by the guys.
Well, I will tell you that it has evolved a little bit from the north and south perspective because Torino and Milan and that area of northern Italy is very New York, Philadelphia-ish.
Okay.
Both mother and father are working. I mean, they have some of the same issues over there that we have over here. But in Sicily, I mean, it's still it's still very much like you said.
The guys.
I mean, the guys are making the decision, like good or bad, like they're doing it, and the women are staying home and running a family. And you hear about those problems here in the United States, right? Like the woman's not staying home with the kids.
Right.
You send them home. You send them to the daycare, and you don't know what they're eating. You don't know what they're doing. And yes, they have a job to do, but there's no formality as far as like backlash as far as like what are you allowing my child to do? Like what is your child really getting into? Well, it's a numbers game, right? So I mean, the more numbers, the more you pay. I mean, what are they eating? Are they eating enough? You ask these questions.
Yeah.
I personally think that after it's all said and done, I don't think that the woman should necessarily not go to work, the guy not go to work. But I think that there needs to be a little bit a give and take as far as like a marriage is concerned. Because in today's world, obviously the economy is a lot tougher than it was years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But think about it, when you guys were growing up. I mean, even before when your grandparents and stuff. I mean, they didn't have a lot, but what they did was they gave a lot of what they had. And I think today we want to give more
Right.
than what we have, and it's I mean, it's a little
And it
tough.
seems like today we all want something. I remember my grandmother living in Sunnyside, New York, in Queens, all of her life in a little one-bedroom apartment with my step-grandfather, who was a great guy. That's all they had. They never wanted a house. They never wanted a big house. They never wanted brand new cars, although they did get a car like every 4 years. My grandfather was in love with Mercuries, and he always got one. But they had that all right. Me with and you and
Yeah.
we gotta have a bigger house. We gotta have a bigger property.
Just to
we,
put more
we need
stuff in.
more. We gotta have
Right.
more. They didn't do that.
Well, my grandma was the same way. My dad's side of the family grew up in Newark, New Jersey, and she had I still remember it as young as I was, going down into her basement apartment, and raviolis all over the bed and drying and things like that. It was so amazing back then.
It's funny. I'm
But
telling you about this. They
that was
said
it.
they said what you call it. They said there's a couple pizza guys that knew my grandfather that came over, and you know where like all the Italians came when they came to Peterborough? You're gonna laugh. They all lived on Mercer Street. You know why? Because they all had basements, so they could all press wine.
Wait, they
They,
say
they
this?
would they would make wine in the basements. on
Oh,
Mercer
and
Street.
Oh,
red
okay,
wine.
yeah.
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 That's
That's
one thing.
great.
When I went to Italy, I noticed when I love wine. I do red wine, but when you're at a restaurant, I always said, and I like a good red wine, maybe a
Pinot
cab.
Noir.
Yeah. Oh, the guy said no. We just have red or white. And I said, "Well, I want red." And it was fantastic. And that's what he gave me, red. It wasn't like I want
Merlot.
Josh or I want
Josh.
whatever. I know you like wine. I know you do. You're a little bit of a wine connoisseur. I know you are.
I am.
Yeah.
This is
And-
bringing
and-
back memories.
Yeah,
Of,
but that's what I noticed in Positano because we ate a lot there. That
Uh-huh.
was mainly where we stayed. We did stay in Rome too, but I asked for wine. What, want red or white? I want red. Okay. Then I asked him what you had. I don't know. It's going to be red. And he would bring out
It's gonna be red.
red wine.
it was good though.
Oh, it
Exactly.
was terrific. It was terrific. It really was. And the gelato. I remember the guy telling we had a food tour in Rome, and the guy told me, "Don't go to these places that have gelato that they're stacked in the pans real high." He says that's not real gelato. I mean, it is, but he says that's the shit ones.
Yeah.
You want to go to a place where the gelato is even on the pans.
Sure.
That's what he said, and
Actually,
he
I
was
think
telling us in Rome
Steve had that.
there's 6,000 pizzerias in Rome. 6,000.
There's a Netflix documentary on how pizza came about.
Oh.
And look, being in the industry, okay, you being in the car world, you can relate to what I'm saying. When someone comes out with bogus numbers, you
Yeah.
scratch your head. Yeah, I sold 200 cars in a day. Dude,
Yeah,
you didn't sell 200 cars in a day. So I'm watching this documentary, and the oldest pizza place I believe in the world is outside of Rome. I believe it's Rome or Naples, but I'm pretty sure.
Well, they say the best one is in Naples.
Well, because how Naples is they always believed. Well, this is funny.
That's
'cause-
where my parents are from.
Okay.
Naples, that area.
Yes. So they still make the pies how we make pies today. No oil though. Everything is a fresh thing. So like what they don't use, they throw away. So you're getting a very fresh pie, which is where your bubbles come from and all that jazz. So, and where the margarita pizza came from, which most people have no idea who the queen was. They have no idea where margarita came from. They just think it's a pizza that's got cheese and sauce on it. And they call it margarita because it's margarita sauce. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the queen, and she wanted to have it years ago. But most pizza guys have no idea where that came from. But I'm listening to this guy talk, and they went to they did a place in Minnesota. the number one pizza place supposedly in the world. I have not been, but I've had people go there, and he said it is very, very good. Is a pizza place in Scottsdale, Arizona, supposedly.
Oh,
He is from New York. Interesting trade. He worked for a butcher. He worked for a cheese guy in the Bronx. He's from the Bronx, and the reason why he moved out there was because of his health. I can speak this. My brother has very bad allergies, and he never took any medication since he was out there. They start talking some crazy numbers on what pizza they do and how much they make and all this other jazz. However, what they do pride themselves on is quality product from here to the end of the night.
Right.
So even if a different pizza guy comes in there and you hear, you put a little too much cheese, I put a little too less, you put a little too much sauce, whatever, it is something that needs to be addressed. It is very, very difficult. But it's just interesting how those places have come about. And they all have a story. And it all relates back somehow to Naples, whether they heard this is how they did it or this is why they did it. They all relate back.
Well,
to the
I
homeland.
heard that Naples that has the number one pizza place in the world. It's supposed to be. There's one in Naples that's supposed to be phenomenal, and line is out the door. And
but you're saying the one in Arizona beats that one.
Well, no, the number one. Well, and once again,
Yeah.
we're from the Lehigh Valley, right?
Right,
Like
right.
I
What do
used
we
to see
know?
Toby's outside of Toby's. They said that was the number one hot dog in New
Yeah.
Jersey. Who comes up with these lists, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you don't really know. So like,
This
so-
is the number one podcast.
yeah. So
by the
this
way,
is
in the
Bill's
country.
pizza list, and yours is best, and this is Tim's list, and his is best, and Angelo's like. So who are we? Like, I've heard hot dog lists and cheesesteak lists. When you're sitting on a plane, we've all sat on a plane. You open up the magazine on Delta, and it says this is the number one steakhouse in the United States, and then you take United on the way back, and it's a total different list, and none of them are the same. So it's like, who's coming up with this list? Like they paid the CEOs. It's like, yeah, we're bored one day. We're just going to write a list on what the best steakhouses. But
So, Ange, we covered quite a bit tonight. I really appreciate you coming. But tell us a little bit. What do you do in your personal time now? Anything specific?
listen, the business is blood. You know, I'm there all the time.
Sure
but
it
I try to sneak out of there once in a while. Obviously, now it's snowing, so
Yeah.
I don't I don't have too much time to go to hit the golf clubs like I'd like to.
Oh, okay.
Well, hard hitting snowballs, not the same effect. You know, I read a lot. You know, I try to read up on the pizza stuff just to see like what's new and what's coming and everything else.
You part of this Pizza Nation I keep hearing about?
There's the Pizza Nation. There's the World Pizza Games. The World U.S. Pizza Team. There's a lot of things. I've
It's a
been.
big family, though. Of
It is. That is very political as well. I've learned a lot about it. Yeah, it's kind of like you're. I'll put it in like Democrat and Republican ways in a sense of the pizza world. Like you're for the people or you're for business. Like it's a different dynamic, right? Like you'll see the people that are like pizza crunchers. They're just pounding out slices and pies, and they're on one side of it. And then there's the people that just want to have a quality product and you want to just give stuff back to the community and like don't worry about money. Well, at the end of the day, you still have to pay your bills and you still have to pay for what you're buying. So you can't just give everything away for free. But you know, it's a learning curve. I mean, I really feel the pizza business has not. It's finally getting the press that it has deserved for as long as it has been. You guys remember very well in the 70s when the pizza boom was there and everyone was going pizza crazy and everyone was making money like it was a different world. Yeah. It's just important to know stuff. So, you know, it doesn't hurt to learn some more things.
Well, we certainly learned a lot tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Real quick, you said you like to play golf. You know, I don't know if you know the couple that I used to hang around with, smoking. He was Harker's Hollow.
Harker's
pro.
Hollow.
Yeah, yeah,
He was a golf pro.
yeah, for a long time. Yeah, when he was younger.
Well, Angelo, thank you so much for joining us on our podcast. I really appreciate it. Very informative, great conversation.
great
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was
Really,
really,
really
good.
fun. So, that closes episode 66.
Yep.
Stay tuned. Don't forget to like, subscribe. And I keep telling you guys, you got to do the cowbell. So you get
Need more
notifications
cowbell.
for a great show like this one. So
That's right.
that's what we got. So I appreciate it. Have a good night. I'm Joe.
And I'm Bill.
Angelo, thank you.
Fist pump.
Yep.
Done. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you so much.